Hey, team players, welcome to Local Football Flavor. Bob and I are talking about the fantasy picks coming up here. We're looking at ESPN's rankings as of June 3rd, breaking down players number 70, 71 through 80. And there's a couple of guys that we start looking around this list where we're getting convergence of big name tickets and who we think are going to be the next swell coming in. There's a lot of moving parts here. So Christian Kirk had a great year last year, but now Calvin Ridley's on the team. So it's like, is he going to be the productive? Is he going to be the main guy? He's certainly still the slot guy in Jacksonville. He's not going to lose playing time, but is he going to lose target share? Mm-hmm. We look over at Monty. Now he is definitively the number 2 on Detroit. Will he be able to produce, or is this going to be a situation where if the Gibbs doesn't get hurt, does Monty ever see the field? Ayuk is in a make-or-break year. This is the year where the Niners have to determine whether or not to give him his 5th-year extension. And it's going to come down to, will he show it up? A lot of things out in San Francisco, I think that they're overrated, and Ayuk's part of that backbone to me. I look at Swift. I'm amazed he's only getting put up here in the 8th round. For the simple fact is, I look at what Sanders did last year in Philadelphia, Bob. As he said, he was like the 13th running back.
He's high, yeah.
Swift is a much, much better athlete than Sanders. Essentially the same situation. I know they're replacing 2 offensive linemen in Philly, but it's not that big of a difference. I think Swift is vastly underrated. We talked before about why you don't want to touch any Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Evans is out. And one of the tight ends that, are part of that general herd is Freiermuth. Do you want a tight end from a team that sucks in the red zone? So that's what I look at with this group here and say, what are you thinking, Bob? There's some high points, there's some low points. And then also there's Khalil Herbert as someone who owned both the Chicago running backs last year. When he was on, but Monty kept stealing the show. So does the fact that Monty's not there make that a more viable pick? I got a lot of – this is the most unknown group of all the groups we've had so far.
This is one of those groups where I'd be comfortable taking Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
If I am, not having a quarterback yet, and I'm sitting here in the 7th round, and I'm saying, okay, 71 picks have come, and 70 picks have come. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking to get a player, and I'm saying, okay, well, I don't have a quarterback yet. This is a perfect opportunity for you to take a quarterback in this round, because these are guys that, for all intents and purposes, are probably going to miss. These are guys where, if I'm drafting and I see Trevor Lawrence and I see Justin Herbert on the board in this vein right here in a 10-team or 12-team league, I'm highly considering drafting both of those quarterbacks over any single player in this field. Here's the reasons why. Christian Kirk was a tremendous asset to the Jaguars last year.
Sure was.
Like we said, we still don't know Calvin Ridley's situation, but Calvin Ridley, when he was a dog, was a dog.
Sure was. And he took touches away from Julio Jones, and that ain't easy.
And that's going to really cut into Christian Kirk if everything plays out the way it does. Well, instead of owning just Calvin Ridley or just owning Christian Kirk, why don't you own the guy that's throwing them the ball? And when you have a guy that has 2 supremely talented wide receivers, plus they still have Evan Ingram, I think that when you look at it, this is a perfect round for a quarterback. Because when I look at DeAndre Swift went to Philadelphia. Philadelphia loves to use their running backs. One of their primary running backs is also their quarterback. And so then they also got Rashad Penny. And so what Philadelphia gave up doesn't tell me and doesn't tell the world that he is going to be slotted into that number 1 role.
Didn't they give up a number 2 for next year?
They gave up picks. They gave up,
But it was a future number 2, though, wasn't it?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's value.
It is and it isn't, in a way that we know what Philadelphia likes to do. We know what Miles Sanders did. They went out, they got Rashad Penny already. Then they went out and got DeAndre Swift. So you have to look at those 2 players in a similar way, and you have to say, okay, well, how is Philadelphia going to play them? And you just told me when we were speaking about Miles Sanders, the way that Miles Sanders was used was different. And so we have to look at the efficiency of DeAndre Swift. We have to look at the efficiency of Rashad Penny. We also have to understand that he's not throwing the ball to DeAndre Swift. He's not going to be throwing the ball to Penny.
I think he will this year. He's not going to throw the Penny because Penny can't catch. But I do think he is going to because that line is downgraded.
But this is something to think about. So in a PPR league last year, DeAndre Swift ended at 21. So it was the 21st.
How many games did he miss?
He missed 3.
That's it?
3 total.
I feel like Swift missed the whole year. Okay.
In a PPR league, he was sitting at 23. So at 140 points in a PPR league.
He was also drafted in some people's second round last year.
Or he was 191 points in a PPR league. So that was 21 in a PPR and 23 in a non-PPR. So, you're looking at Swift. He was one of those backs that we said that was right there on the cusp of great things. Almost at 200 points last year on the Detroit Lions. There's no reason to say that he's not going to do that again this year. But again, I would much rather be sitting here and going, I'm going to take a quarterback this round and let everybody else figure this situation out. Because like you stated, this has a lot of names in it. If you believe that the Buccaneers aren't going to suck real bad, Mike Evans could be an option for
Mike Evans has to be the reason they don't.
But like I stated, and I misstated the numbers because I was looking at my standard sheet instead of my PPR sheet. But Mike Evans is sitting there at the 17th best wide receiver last year, 225 points total. But that's in PPR. Now, if you go and look at him in standard and the volume that you gave to Mike Evans last year is not going to be there this year.
It's not.
He was 16th. He was 16th, right where Brandon Ayuk was last year at 148. And so you look at the standard, you look at that, and you're saying to yourself, well, this isn't Tom Brady that's going to be passing in the ball. The numbers are going to go down. And so I think he's slotted perfectly fine in this area. Whereas I said I wouldn't draft Rachaad White and I wouldn't draft Godwin where those numbers were. And I think I think that Mike Evans is similarly in a do not draft territory.
I agree with that.
However, if you're going to not take a quarterback this round and you're going to take a chance at any one of these players, the 2 guys that you probably would take a chance, or the 3 guys actually that you would take a chance on would be Evans, Swift, and Herbert. Because the situations for Herbert is set up that if they make Fields into a better passer, that is going to benefit Herbert as a runner.
Yes, it will.
Swift, same situation. If Swift is used properly, he's going to go off. And if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to win games, that ball has to go to Mike Evans. It has to go to Chris Godwin. Now, the question mark is that do you want the weapons on a terrible team with a terrible quarterback? Personally, I don't. The guy on this list to me that sticks out as, hey, don't take this guy is David Montgomery.
Yeah.
The name is a name, but they drafted Gibbs on basically the same days where they picked up Montgomery. And so you have to ask yourself, do you want to deal?
Yeah, they had Monty first, yeah.
Do you want to deal with this situation? And let's be serious here. Pat Freiermuth is probably not going to be the only tight end available at this point in time.
Well, there's a ton of them. Pat Freiermuth is in that same blaze as, is he really different than, Cole Kmet?
So,
I mean, I use Cole Kmet as the example here because I think he's the only one that Fields will complete a pass to. But really, when we look at this and say neither one of them are red zone things, both of the quarterbacks will run one in occasionally. And Cole Kmet is at least the second most talented pass catcher on his team. You can make an argument that Freiermuth is probably
Well, it's
fourth.
fun that you say that because Freiermuth was only 1 point better than Cole Kmet.
Yeah, like I said, they're in the same range.
There was a stretch in time at the beginning of the season where Cole Kmet had 2 0 games where he didn't even do anything. And so you're looking at it and you say to yourself, oh, and in that point in time, Freiermuth accumulated 24 total points. So you're looking at it and you say, okay, can I wait? Can I wait on tight end? Absolutely.
Yes, you should. They're all the same. They're all the same.
If you're not taking Kelsey, just wait.
That's my answer. I mean, For real, look at the difference between Freiermuth and Kittle real quick.
The difference between Freiermuth at the 7th spot here and Kittle at the 3rd spot. Kittle had 200 points, so he was 60 points better than Freiermuth.
So 60 points better. You can make an argument there's something to that. But once you get past Kittle at the 3 spot, they're all blah. And as I said, the one who I think is going to be the second best one hasn't come up yet in Ertz. So when I look at these tight ends, I think they're overrated. We're starting to get to a spot now with quarterbacks where you got Herbert and Lawrence. Lawrence obviously had a great year last year, but if you're in a single quarterback league, the difference that you're going to have between taking Herbert now, we haven't said Dak yet. Daniel Jones is still out there who puts up decent points. There's a lot of people left, and who knows what Jordan Love's going to be.
So
I'm actually excited for the Jordan Love experiment.
Dak missed 5 games and still had 213 points.
Yeah.
So
Kirk Cousins, like I said, we're nowhere near him, and he put up a great year last year.
Again, if you're going to take a player from this grouping, this is the round where you would start to consider a quarterback. This is a round where you should start to consider a quarterback if you don't like any of these players on the board. But again, if I can, and again, I stated earlier that I don't like anybody from Tampa, but out of all of these players, if Mike Evans is sitting there and I haven't solidified my 3rd wide receiver or I haven't gotten to my 4th
well, he's the best one on the team, so he's getting targeted.
But if he's anywhere in the 5th round, 6th round, 4th round, I'm not touching Mike Evans in those positions. And so you've really got to be aware of what's happening there. And then James Cook. We haven't talked about James Cook, but the Buffalo situation with running backs is so unusual.
He was hurt last year and they still didn't hand the ball off.
It's so unusual.
I don't get it.
That when you look at, I'm gonna pull up James Cook's numbers really fast here. And we're gonna take a look and see where he ranked in terms of just player usage here. James Cook was the 44th best running back last year in terms of points with 107 points. Now his situation
he didn't play the whole second half of the year, though.
Yeah, and has the situation gotten better? No, he still has Damian Harris there, so he still has someone.
I think I'd rather have Harris, though. I mean, if I'm looking at the Bills' backfield, I think I'd rather have Damian Harris.
Yeah, and there's still someone in his way, and we still haven't mentioned Damian Harris yet.
Yeah,
so, I'm sitting here looking, and we didn't talk about Brandon Ayuk.
Well, that's what I want to talk about a concept with Ayuk, because this is something where me and you are definitely on different pages with. I prefer having a guy that I don't need to worry about matchups. I just want to have someone who's a high floor and saying, hey, I got to play you every week, and I don't need to think about it. My ideal fantasy world is this is the roster week 1. It'll be the same in week 4, so on and so forth. Brandon Ayuk ain't that kind of player because he's the kind of guy that when he shows up, he's going to put down a 40 spot, and then he's going to give you 0 for 7 months. And then he's going to give you another 50 because that's Brandon Ayuk. And you love those kind of players, and I hate them. So I want to have that chat right now.
I love them here.
Yes.
Because you're looking for a guy that's going to pop off. Brandon Ayuk's numbers were strictly tied to touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at it and you say, okay, where is Ayuk at in these rankings? And I think it's fair to say that even though Ayuk ended up like as the 15th best wide receiver in terms of total points, he accumulated 227 total points in a PPR league. If you take out the receptions and you go to standard, and I think this is a good experiment.
He's probably going to increase.
I think it's fun. He stays at 15.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, like, you're looking at it, and he has...
That's a sign of a non-volume guy.
You have 149 total points. And so, anytime you're looking at the variation between... And I think it's a good experiment to do looking at both of them. When you look at standard versus PPR, because PPR talks to you about volume. Where's the volume going to? And you look at the big numbers that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans put up in PPR, volume was a big thing for them last year. It was 60 passes a game, 40 passes a game. They're not going to get that this year. So their numbers are probably going to be more realistic and more in line to 148, 160, 170 points. And it's perfectly fair to draft a wide receiver right now at that level. When I'm looking at Mike Evans and I'm looking at Ayuk, which one would I rather have? Well, you're going to win your league with a sneaky touchdown or two every week.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're going to win your league at. Everybody goes, and especially in PPR, the PPR points where it sets you apart is where those touchdowns are at. So that's for the same reason Deontay Johnson for you is a scrub, because he didn't score those touchdowns and he doesn't.
I think his volume's going down.
Right, and his volume is going down.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Ayuk's volume seems to say to me that it's going to stay pretty much the same. And so if you're,
although he's got a way worse quarterback situation for the first half of the year,
the touchdown regression is going to happen. So are you comfortable at taking Ayuk where he's probably going to top off at 160, 170 points in a PPR?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you willing to take a chance on Mike Evans if he's sitting there? Because David Montgomery to me isn't even an option. James Cook isn't an option in this round.
Mm-mm.
And then you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, well, Khalil Herbert's options. Let's take a look at his numbers in a standard league.
Have they put his number 2 there in Chicago?
No. They have a rookie. They have a rookie.
Okay.
And Roshan Johnson. So you look at what he's doing with Herbert. And Donta Foreman is also in Chicago.
Okay.
So that's the scary situation that Herbert has himself in.
So it's basically the same hell they had, because Foreman isn't that much different than Monty. And do you really want to keep playing this? He gets some care. Because Herbert, much better at a PPR than a standard, because he caught balls. But yeah, I guess we're starting to get in that handcuff territory.
We'll verify that for you right now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in a PPR league, Khalil Herbert ranks 41st among running backs with 117 total points. That's considering games missed as well. And as I just said, we look back and we see, okay, well, where's Khalil Herbert? 37th with 108 points. He's not that much better.
Yeah.
He's not that much better.
I
don't let it fool you, because the situation hasn't gotten any better for Khalil Herbert. And so when you look at the potential for Khalil Herbert, the potential is there to be successful, but is it really? And I would say no. I would say that Khalil Herbert is a guy that you're going to be.
I don't want Chicago. That's another team that's never going to lead.
You're going to be enticed to take him because you know that he's going to.
You know his name.
You know his name. But I would much rather here in this situation have Lawrence and Herbert. I would much rather have.
Well, rank them out for me, Bob.
Lawrence, Herbert.
Okay.
That's my 1-2 in this grouping. Then it goes to DeAndre Swift at the 3rd. And as I said, I'm not drafting any Tampa Bay wide receiver, any Tampa Bay skill position player. But Mike Evans in this grouping at 4, I think, is tremendous value.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm putting the position of Mike Evans or Khalil Herbert, it's going to be Mike Evans all day, every day there. Then I'm going Brandon Ayuk because I like touchdowns. I think touchdowns are going to win you weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're looking at Christian Kirk. If Coven really isn't the guy, isn't the dude we think he is, Christian Kirk obviously is. We saw that he was.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be fair to say that, okay, that's going to be a good landing spot right there for him. And then I think the rest of these guys I have to order them for for this experiment here, but I'm going to put James Cook, then I'm going to put Freiermuth, then Montgomery, and then Herbert. I think it's very real. I think it's a very real possibility that Gibbs gets hurt rather than Herbert being successful.
Fair enough. So for my list, it's very much different. I am a firm believer in Christian Kirk. First off, he put it up last year when they didn't really have a good number 2 receiver, but Lawrence still spread the ball around. I think just having Ridley out there, even if he's not all bought in, is going to open up space for Kirk. Because last year when you watched Jacksonville play, people swarmed to Kirk. Mm-hmm. Going from double coverage to single coverage normally gives you an explosion, especially after you already considered yourself, hey, we got a relationship with the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take Kirk as my first spot. I'm in love with DeAndre Swift. He's my second spot. I think both of them should be rated much higher than they are right now. Ayuk is going to be my third for all of those reasons. Ayuk has the possibility of going off again, right? But I don't like the quarterback situation in the beginning But the thing with San Francisco is they don't have a second string. They have 5 players that are skill players.
If
Debo goes down, who else they give him the ball to other than Ayuk?
Can you go up on our list here and go to where Debo was sitting at? I believe that Debo was in like the 30s here.
Was he that high?
Yeah.
Debo would have been 41 overall.
Debo's sitting at 42 in the rankings of ESPN,
and
that's at a point where you're looking at Olave, Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Chris Godwin, Pittman, McLaurin, and
he doesn't belong there. Debo does not belong.
And
there.
You look and you say, Ayuk at this range versus Debo.
I'm way more comfortable with Ayuk
at that range.
And again, to finish the thought, you look at San Francisco. It's McCaffrey's their lead dog, no doubt, and then it's Debo and Kittle. Ayuk, and then no one. Like they don't have a number 3 receiver. It's their fullback.
The reason I bring up these 2 wide receivers is at pivotal points in the draft.
The
pivotal points in the draft are Jalen Hurts or Debo, Trevor Lawrence or Ayuk. Where
I would rather have Hurts and Ayuk combination.
Are you more likely to seat your hat at? Are you a Debo guy? Are you Ayuk? I'm not saying this is something you're going to have.
No, but that's essentially that's the choice some people would make. And given if those are the 2 options in front of me, Lawrence and Debo or Hurts and Ayuk, give me the Hurts and Ayuk all day.
And if you take Hurts that high, you might then feel that you have to rush to take another player. So you may end up taking it. You may end up taking a chance on somebody else, but it's just something to think about. Olave, Samuel, and Hurts. Olave, Debo, and Hurts versus Ayuk, Lawrence, Mike Evans. And you can even do it with Godwin because Godwin's in that same grouping. You have 3 options there. Hurts, Debo, Godwin versus Ayuk, Lawrence, and Mike Evans. I would much rather take Hurts that high and Mike Evans this low if the option was presented.
If you knew it was going to be, but the reality
it's not going to be like that.
Your name list is going to have too many people are going to just take the names. And
Ayuk's going to sit there for a while.
Ayuk doesn't have the name recognition now, but when you really look at the Niners roster, they have 4 skill players and that's it. Maybe only 3. Because they're always having one of them hurt. It's not like Kittle and McCaffrey have this clean bill of health. Even Debo to that degree. So there's certainly going to be weeks where Ayuk is going to be the one that Shanahan is designing. He has to be the one to win the game for us. Ayuk has the talent to do it, but it's very clear that he is not the first choice of Shanahan, and that's why he has weeks where he disappears. So if I'm sitting here in the 8th round and I get a chance to stockpile someone who can win me a league, or win me a week rather, but I believe Christian Kirk, again, to restart my league, Christian Kirk's going to be consistent week in, week out production. I think the same is true with Swift. Then we go to Ayuk. It is hard to fight taking the best player on a team with Mike Evans. I get everything you said. And then we go next. I go to the 2 quarterbacks. I personally have bias towards Lawrence over Herbert in fantasy. So that's how I would rank those next 2. I have no desire to have Monty on my team at all, which puts him in last. Freiermuth second last. Cook and Herbert. And it's basically because Herbert I know would be a starter. Cook isn't the best running back on his team. And that's just the way I break it down. So if you guys want to compete with us, join us in our best ball leagues. We'll be doing them on FanDuel here. Let us know your information down below in the comments and we'll get you set up. And if you haven't already, click subscribe.